Hey everyone, Cell here. After getting back into trade when I started Kalandra League, I've become more and more interested in the various currency farming strategies that I see going around, especially with the economic shakeup that came with the update. Some are popular, others not so much, so I thought I'd document my progress and report my findings back in the form of a video whenever I try a particular currency farming method. To start things off, I decided to see how much profit I could make by running logbooks. Expedition is some of my favorite content. They can take a decent amount of time to run, and it can take a while to use up any artifacts you get, so a lot of people end up selling theirs even if they're running an Expedition Atlas strategy. I personally like Tujen the most. The rewards are kind of timeless and it's raw currency, or things that can be easily liquidated. So I set off to buy 25 Tujen logbooks. There are layouts and logbook implicits that are better than others, but I decided not to be too picky and just bought anything that was available. It took me about an hour to buy and roll 25 logbooks, costing an average of about 30 chaos. In total, that'd be 750 chaos or about 4 divines. When running the logbooks, I focused on trying to get as much Tujen currency as possible and buffing up the boss as much as possible whenever I found one, since the boss rewards scale with the number of remnants you have before it. I found 5 or 6 bosses in these 25, but I did brick one by juicing it way too much. I don't know if that's average or above average or whatever else, so maybe take that with a grain of salt, especially considering I got a ton of refresh currencies. One of the bosses ended up dropping 30 refresh currencies in a single drop, which is pretty insane. So it took me about 2.5 to 3 hours to run all 25 logbooks. I'm not the fastest, especially setup wise. I go around kind of slowly and look at things and see what the rewards are and try to optimize the profit per logbook a little bit, but not necessarily the best idea. Should try to optimize for time, and if you do that, I'm sure you can do so faster. After that, I had a ridiculous amount of Black Scythe artifacts. We're talking tens of thousands of each, except the exceptional, and just over 200 refresh currencies in total. It then took me 2 hours of haggling to get through them all. All in all, about 25% of the loot came from running logbooks, and the rest came from haggling with Tujen. I did have one raw divine drop from the logbooks and another raw divine from Tujen himself. And total time spent, if you add everything up, not accounting for time spent selling things, of course, and I'll get into that in a minute, would be about 5.5 to 6 hours for the 25 logbooks I ran, which sounds pretty slow, but you gotta remember, like I said, a lot of that time is spent in the hideout, just sort of chilling there, haggling, or blowing through refresh currencies, depending on which vendor you're using. And if we hop on over into Excellence here, you can see I made just under 20 divs worth of estimated value. You'll have to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt because some of these items are not exactly priced correctly. Like Ulnatal's Breachstone is not worth 30 chaos. I think it's more like 7 or something. So that's just one example. These maps are priced appropriately, but again, just some of these things might not be. I think fossils might be priced a little incorrectly as well. So if we remove the misc items here, miscellaneous, that'll be all the things that I think aren't as easy to liquidate. It's like the scarabs, things you kind of have to bulk sell, but I only have like 1 or 2 here that you see. If I take that out, that's closer to 16 div, which is still pretty good in my opinion, or at least it was more than I was expecting. Whether or not it's good depends on, how fast you can farm currency elsewhere. Remembering that this cost 4 div to get going with buying the logbooks, and it cost me 6 hours to run everything. So if you account for that, with the raw currency, which we can scroll through here and see that this is all just vast quantities of currency, like 704 fusing, 660 alts, bunch of chromatics, regrets, 540 raw chaos. This is, I should mention, combined from the logbooks and Tujen. Stack decks have 40. Like I said, I only got 2 divines raw. The other 4 divines are from selling stack decks. That's the only thing I've liquidated of this tab so far. I could sell them in bulk, I found, for about 115 stack decks per divine, which equates to about 1.6 chaos a piece. Obviously you can see over here the price is 1.44, but if people want to buy huge quantities, you usually get a bit of an upsell for that. So if you are willing to deal with the miscellaneous items here, or you're going to use them yourself, then the value is closer to 16 div profit, 15-16, which puts it about 2.5 to 3 div per hour. Otherwise, if you remove this and just consider the raw currency, I made about 2 div per hour, which isn't that bad. All things considered, I think it's pretty easy content to do overall. The only difficult thing is the boss, which admittedly is a significant part of the profit, but you know, you have some fine-grained control over that, and if you want to juice the boss, you can do so. Otherwise, you can take a little bit less profit to make sure you actually get the kill and not brick one like I did. Apart from that, there's kind of just like a lot of gumball currency as well. You see I have a few hundred of things worth like fractions of a chaos, which brings me to my next point. Even if you're not gonna run, say, the Guardian maps and extract the value from them yourself, there is still ample time with a strategy like this to end up selling all of these things. Because you spend such a significant portion of time in the hideout, just sitting in the Tujen haggling screen, or you know, whichever vendor you end up doing, that allows for a lot of time to not have not have to interrupt your mapping to go and sell an item. You can just say, alright, I'm sitting in the hideout, let me price a bunch of this stuff before I keep going, and then you can get messages for trade coming in as you continue haggling with Tujen, and it's much less interruptive than if you're going to get in a map or do a boss or go delving or anything like that. So that provides a perfect opportunity to sell things in bulk, or even individual items as well, but especially bulk selling. And I kind of alluded to this earlier, but because you don't really require an Atlas strategy for this, you can kind of just drop in and try it whenever, which makes it, in today's game, a lower risk kind of strategy if you want to try it out just to see if you like it, or to see if you can make a decent amount of money. You don't have to respec your entire Atlas tree. All you gotta do is buy some logbooks and run them, basically. So when you consider those two elements together, I think this is a pretty solid strategy. It's not super intensive, easy on the hands and looting and all that. So all those factors put together, I think is pretty good, even if the estimated value is kind of on the low end. Their requirements are lower as well. Like if you can make 5 to 10 divines an hour blasting through maps, that's great, but this is something for people that maybe can't do that, don't have that type of build, don't like that type of playstyle, and would rather just do some logbooks. Anyways, that's about it for me. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. If you did, feel free to give it a like, comment, or subscribe. Much appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.